Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Agatha All Along, Season 1, Episode 5. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we have the Salem 7 popping up, and we kind of get the story filled in on who they are. They are the children of the coven that her mom's coven, her coven, that she killed back in the day, which we got a recap of that at the beginning and a recap and everything. So she ended up saying, like, the lesson is, don't ever do anything halfway, which I was like, yeah, I learned that lesson on the other comic, across the comic pond over in DC in the Harley Quinn series, where Queen of Fables tried to teach that lesson to Harley. It's like, you have to end the bloodline, because if you don't, that's just one more person that's going to come after you for revenge. And that's what that storyline immediately made me think of. And I'm sure there's actually a lot of parallels you could draw between Queen of Fables and Agatha Harkness. But yeah, essentially, after their coven died, like, I guess just having your entire coven die like that, all the children, like, as they put it, went feral. So I guess it's maybe just some, like, cosmic balance of, okay, because all of them were killed at once, it's almost like cursing the entire next generation of, like, okay, now they have to, like I want to have the Salem 7 just been, are they constantly active? I can't remember if they said, like, are they specifically after Agatha, or are they after any bad witch? I'm curious. I mean, they have pertinent reason to go after Agatha, but I wonder, do they go after all bad witches? Because I think I made a reference of, like, I wonder, could they be kind of like the was it like the Death Flash or the Flash of Death? I only know it because of the TV show. I think it's a thing from the comics too, but it's like a speedster version of death. It's coming after you, so I wonder if this was supposed to be the same thing. So the plan is, like, hey, let's get some, we're going to have to fly away on brooms, which they're all reluctant to do because it's like, it's so antiquated, and especially because it's been so commercialized. But also, like, I love how Lilia put it. It's like, yes, but it also is very representative of women being very domesticated. Like, oh, it's part of, like, the domestic element of, women in the kitchen and stuff like that, and cleaning up, like, which I'm like, I could see that parallel. So I also love the ritual of it. Like, it's a thing of, like, you have to kind of share it together. You're not you're part of the ritual is, like, you have to share it with someone else. I thought it was sweet when Alice was like, you want to do it with me, Teen? He's like, yeah. And they did it. In fact, she's the one that stepped up when one of the Salem 7 got on top of Teen, and they all flew off. And it is kind of poetic and beautiful seeing them fly off into the moon. And they're feeling it, because I guess, like, none of them even Lilia was like, I haven't done this in, like, centuries. I also love that, like, Jen was like, oh my god, you did such an amazing job with mine. And she was like, yeah, you could have done a better job with mine. I was like, all the snarky shade, I love it. But yeah, sadly, they're because I was like, oh, why? I love the whole thing. Oh, yeah, why didn't we do this sooner? And then it's like, immediately get an answer for it, because the road doesn't like that. It's like, no, you're cheating. Get back to the damn ground, because it's like, no, you can't stray too far from the road. Once again, we don't know if that's really true, or if that was some BS Agatha came up with in, like, episode 3 or not, but whatever the case may be, they have to make it to the next trial. So it's like, yeah, as long as we move from trial to trial, we'll be able to kind of stay up ahead of the Salem 7. This one gives very, like, specifically gave Friday the 13th vibes, like, summer camp type of cabin vibes and stuff like that. But yeah, they say that this is Agatha's trial, which I'm wondering, I mean, it seemed like it revolved around Agatha, which I think that's interesting, making her trial be, like, the middle of the season, because you're so conditioned to be, like, literally everyone else's trial. Because we still have Lilia's, and we still have just Lilia and Rio's, and who knows if Teen's trial. I'm wondering if we're going to find out this trial wasn't as much Agatha's trial as it was maybe Teen's trial. I'm so curious how that's going to really be, because it seems like it's Agatha's trial, but it seems so different in its structure, and each of them has had their own structure, but it just seemed, I don't know, there was more in complications to this. Like, the fact of the matter is, like, oh, you have to leave Agatha behind. There's something to that which I find fascinating. I also think is interesting too, like the conundrum and enigma that is Rio. Because like sometimes she's like, oh, we have to kill Agatha. Oh well, let's slice her throat. They even comment on like, wait, you can be like all about killing Agatha one moment, and then when they brought up this Salem 7 at first, she was like, hey, she was defending herself because her coven tried to kill her, and it's like, why are you? And Jim was like, why are you trying to defend her? That is the conundrum of like, you seem like you hate her, but it does seem like it stemmed from, I loved you at one point in time, you broke my heart, but I still care about you. I'm still bound to you in some shape or form, and I can be pissed at you and I can threaten you, but it's also like I can't kill you without, I guess, if she kills Agatha, she kills herself maybe, or maybe she's just literally bound to not be able to kill Agatha. We don't know the circumstances of what their situation is, but she always seems so, not lackadaisical. I don't know if that would be the proper word in this case. It's just like she seems like she has fun in the trials, and she seems once again super unhinged. But it is a situation of, but she's sticking this out for Agatha, with Agatha. So you'd think you'd want Agatha not to have her powers, but the whole point is for her to get her powers so you two can have your showdown. I think just like Agatha was making excuses, I think Rio's making excuses for everything as well. On like, she doesn't really want it to come down to that, her and Agatha duking it out. I don't know, like I said, she continues to be a conundrum. But either way, they're supposed to be using a Ouija board and contacting the dead. And well, we know immediately, well, you're like, well, this must have something to do with Nicholas Scratch, right? And Agatha herself is super reluctant. She's the most reluctant with this whole Ouija board. And I love the whole Sharon thing comes up first. I'm like, whoa, is this something really with Sharon? And it's like, oh, did Agatha get possessed? But no, it turns out she was bullshitting them and pretending to be. I was like, would Sharon say all that? Like, I don't know. I was like, I wasn't really buying that first. I was like, what? I was like, what's going on here? But I'm like, maybe it actually is Sharon. But it's like, no, it's Agatha. She says, actually, I thought I did a pretty damn good job. It's like, all right, stop messing around. And then it really kicks in. And ultimately, basically, it's about, the trial is about punishing Agatha, which everyone else, with its exception of Teen, was okay with it. So it's like, oh, maybe we can tie her up. And I even love Jen had to take out like maybe like her retainer at that moment. I was like, why is she reaching her mouth? And she put something away. I'm like, oh, did you have a retainer in? It fits the aesthetic and stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, we had to punish her. And then she proceeds to get possessed and kind of goes full exorcist. But we find out the reason why she did that is because her mom was possessing her. And it's just like, oh, and this sad thing of, oh, loved you being inside me, Mom. That was the closest we've ever been. And it's just like, why do you hate me? Why do you still hate me? She's like, because you were born evil, and I should have killed you the moment you came out the womb. You're like, Jesus. Everyone literally had the reaction of, damn. I mean, we know she's kind of an asshole, but like, damn, like even a mom saying that. So it makes me wonder what Agatha's birth was like all about then, if like she was quote unquote born evil. Like maybe there was always something off with Agatha. You know, maybe even the fact is the nature of her powers being she steals other people's powers. Like maybe that is kind of intrinsic, supposed to be about like, that's who you've always been. You've always been this like desire of more and power. You've always been obsessed with power. That was like, I'm wondering what specifically made Agatha so supposedly evil from the beginning. So now it becomes a thing of, is Agatha a self-fulfilling prophecy? Or, you know, because people treated her like she was bad and that made her just be so defensive and that kind of made her go down the road of being a villain? Or was it a thing of, no, she was always going to be a villain no matter what? It was already rooted inside of her. Is it nature or nurture, or a combination of the two when it comes to Agatha's constitution and everything? So... But still, her mom possesses her body because the whole trial is you have to leave Agatha behind. That's how you punish Agatha, not by killing her. You have to leave. By leaving her behind, that will be the ultimate punishment, because why is she doing all this? For power. If you're able to keep her from completing the trial and getting power, that would be the ultimate punishment for Agatha to like come so far but end up, you know, so short. But Teen doesn't want to leave her behind. He has a soft spot for Agatha because regardless of what people say about her, he sees the good in her and he looks up to her for whatever reason, because she was kind of a terrible role model to begin with, but still. But the problem is, Alice stepped in and tried to protect her, but in the process, she removes Agatha's mom from her, but now it's like she's striking Agatha with her magic, and now Agatha's absorbing it, and she absorbs it to the point that she kills Alice. Now the question becomes, and this is where it could go either way, could Agatha have stopped? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's a thing of once the process is started, there's no stopping it. Maybe Agatha didn't, maybe in the moment she did do it consciously, but didn't mean for it to go that far, or maybe it just was purely subconscious. We will never fully know. And I think even Agatha herself doesn't know, because she feels the power, she feels good, but she also does not like the resentment. Because Agatha is the type of person of, I don't care what other people think about me, but it's like teen's disappointment strikes a chord with her. Especially, it's interesting too, because, Rios told her last episode, that's not your kid, but she's probably also thinking, Rios hates me, so she could be lying to me. But for her to think that, and no one else immediately goes to that conversation, no one else is thinking that, but Rio did kind of figure that out. But that's also because Rio probably knows Agatha better than anyone, maybe even better than herself. So, and the only way they were able to get her to stop is because Teen got in contact with Nicholas. He says the name Nicholas Scratch, and then the voice says, "Mommy, stop." Which makes, in my understanding, in a way they kind of make it sound, it made it seem like Nicholas was still a baby when she potentially gave him the Mephisto. Once again, we don't know the story there, whether she was tricked or whether that was part of the deal. But part of me wonders, like, maybe he was actually he might not have been a baby, but maybe he was like a little kid, so he could have still been in the single digits type of thing. So I wonder, was he like a little older than you? Like I said, my thinking was because of the cradle situation back in episode 3 that it was a baby situation, but maybe it was more like, no, he was a little bit older than you kind of thought. It'd be interesting. I wouldn't expect him to be this old, but I was wondering, like, maybe as old as Billy and his brother when they were like first introduced, because I'm like, they were like 12 or something, like in the later parts of WandaVision when they aged themselves up again. So I'm like, I don't know, because I was wondering if there's because I'm like, when we first introduced to them, there was the baby carriages situation, which Agatha was connected in that regard. She was kind of doing her yoga Pilates thing with the kids, and then they grew up the first time, and then they grew up a second time. So I don't know. I'm probably overthinking things, but I'd actually almost thought for a second Agatha was going to try to do the right thing, and it's like, all right, I'm going to release this power and give it back to Alice and save her. But it's like, for one, can Agatha do that? Once she's taken power, can she willingly give it back? Maybe she can, but she's maybe never felt the need to try to, because she's so obsessed with power, like she could never bring herself to do it subconsciously. So maybe she might believe that she can't, but in actuality she can. But because she's so like, no, like, oh, it's not working. It's like, it's not working because mentally you don't want to give up the power. But like I said, she doesn't know how to feel about it, because she is kind of sad, but she's also happy to have power again for the first time, and it feels so good and intoxicating. But when you look at it, it fizzles away in her hand. So I'm wondering, like, even though she sapped Alice of all her power, because Alice probably doesn't have a lot of power to begin with, maybe only a fraction of it really went into her. So she only had maybe instead of getting like a 100% charge, maybe she only got like a 5% charge, and in that moment, that little bit zapped away. Maybe that's what that is. Or maybe it's just like Agatha needs like a full charge to hold on to the power. Anything less dissipates. It could also be what Wanda did to her makes it so that she can't like she can absorb magic, but maybe she can't hold on to it. There's just so many things about it we don't know. But yeah, like I said, the person that's most disappointed in her is Teen. And it's like, right, is that what this is going to be like? We have to sacrifice people just to get power? And it's like, even Jen walks by and it's like, yeah, is this really what it's all about? That's what it's all been about, hasn't it? And power. And Jen says, that's why we're all here. Yeah, she's disappointed in Agatha, but it's also like, I already knew who you were from the beginning, so you're not disappointing me. But I think it's also the thing of, yeah, we're all here for power. It's not like Agatha might be bad about it and she might use and manipulate and be a terrible person, but at the end of the day, we're all in that same boat. We all came here for power. So we're better than her on a moral standpoint, but when it comes goal-wise to do whatever it can, like, we all here for power. And then Agatha has this, because he was like, yeah, I'm not going to be like that. And she's like, are you sure? And then she's just like, oh, you look just like you act, or like you are just like your mother or something like that. But in that moment, Agatha like switched up. And what was interesting though is we don't see Rio. Like after like Rio looked at Agatha walking away while they were still inside the cabin, like Rio kind of had this sad look of almost she felt bad for Agatha. Like I said, because I think she sees that Agatha wasn't trying to be the bad guy in that moment. She can be an asshole, but she wasn't trying to do that. Once again, that's maybe me giving her a lot of bail. Like I said, that might just be the constitution of her power of like, it won't stop until it's sapped everything. Or like I said, it could have just been a subconscious thing of like, she didn't consciously choose to keep stealing from Alice. But which begs the question, like, is Alice dead or what? Probably not, which I'm sure is going to piss off some people because it's going to be like, are there going to be no stakes? If people come back to life, then, you know, what was it all for? It's like, yeah, but like maybe there's a thing of, it's probably a thing of Agatha has to probably give up all the power at the end. And if she does, we can bring back Sharon and we can bring back Alice or anyone else that might die on the road going forward. All she has to do is give up the thing she wants most, which is power, or maybe it's Nicholas. Who knows? But like I said, she had that moment of just switching over, went full villain, and I'm like, I wonder what sparked that in her, where she was just kind of like, all right, you want me to be the bad guy? I'll be the bad guy. And it's just like, I guess in that moment, she saw a lot of like, oh, it kind of reminded her of her own confrontation with Wanda 3 years ago. So maybe for her, it's like, oh, in this moment, I finally figured it out. Maybe having a little bit of magic let her figure out who, because once again, it's like, the whole point is like, oh, he was supposed to stay hidden and the sigil will stay on Teen until like it's no longer necessary. And I guess maybe the conditions were met in that moment. Maybe it's like a thing of maybe Agatha getting any power back, like remove the sigil or what, I don't know. But for Agatha to have that switch up in that moment, like I said, I don't know if that was her playing up the villain role, because it's like, hey, you want to cast me as a bad guy even though I didn't mean to be? Fine, let's do it. And was just acting very wicked. And in that moment, Teen took possession of Lilia and Jen and made them toss Agatha. And like I said, she's not fighting back because I don't think she has any magic in that moment. Like whatever she took from Alice fizzled away for whatever reason. Threw her into the mud that Sharon was about to go into in episode 3, and she gets pulled in. But then he also blasts Lilia and Jen. So I guess he kind of went dark side in that moment where it's just like, fine, he's angry and disgusted. Because I'm wondering if that's kind of indicating, because of what Agatha said, like, oh, maybe you have hurt or killed someone before, and either you don't remember or you do remember, and you're just like trying to pretend like you're good, or you view yourself as good, but you've done some terrible stuff as well. Like you've hurt people just to get what you want. Like maybe that's the indication. I mean, because the argument could be made, not saying you should make the argument, but I think the argument could be made that like anything that Agatha has done can be on the Teen's like consciousness for like, hey, I'm the one that helped free her from the spell. I'm the one that kind of set Agatha down this route because I'm the one that wanted to go down the road. So any terrible thing she's done, I am partially responsible for. We won't really know until maybe the next episode to give us more context. But like, once again, why Lilia and Jen? Did it just feel like, oh, like you're just as power hungry as she is, you're just as bad as her? Like, is he just so raged out in this moment he takes it out on them? Or is it just, who knows? But then finally we get the ending too, where we see the crown on him. So kind of a scarlet, not a scarlet crown, it's like a purplish crown. So I'm like, what does that mean for him? Because I don't think, because once again, the running theory is that he's wicked, but I don't think. So I was about to say, like, I didn't think he had a similar thing to Wanda, with like the whole like tiara slash crown thing. But I looked it up. Some versions of the character has like, it's mainly like a headband. It kind of like, it's kind of the same shape as like a, if you've seen Naruto, it's kind of like their village headbands. It's kind of like that. Not in it, but like just giving you like an idea. But it's like all the way around instead of just like this metal plate in the middle. It's like the entire thing's that type of material. But there is one picture from like a specific comic where he has a helmet very similar to Wanda's. That's the Scarlet Witch. So I'm like, I wonder, are they pulling more from that? Because that seemed like, just, once again, I know nothing about Wiccan, but I'm wondering, is that a more recent comic thing? But like most pictures I saw, he just had a very specific headband, except for this one, he has a crown slash helmet, but it's more like, I mean, not helmet, but like a tiara slash crown, but it looks like it's the same color as Wanda's. It's like red. And so this one looked more purple, and even his magic was bluish. So that's why I'm like, interesting. And obviously, there's the whole element at the end, too, of perfect song choice, just at kick in at the right moment. It's so interesting. I haven't seen it a lot, but there's a handful of TV shows. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's a couple TV shows I've reviewed where I was like, oh, it's so interesting that, like, out of any Billie Eilish song, I feel like that one gets the most play on TV shows. I've watched a few TV shows that have gotten the licensing for that, but it's also very befitting. I mean, in many different ways, because it's like, I mean, I think probably some more than others, but this song in particular, like, just the context of the crown element to it, but also, like, with Billie's vocals on that song and just the entire vibe of the song, there's, like, the singing and stuff, like, there's a spooky witchiness to it. Like I said, like, just the way Billie sings sometimes has a very, like, spooky element, like an eerie element to it, and like it is very prominent in this song, so it fits on so many different levels. Just, I don't know. I mean, for one, I don't give a shit because like I really like the song, so it's like the first Billie Eilish song I heard. I don't know if it's the first one she ever released, but definitely the first one I ever came across. So yeah, very, very interesting developments all across. We are kind of a little over halfway point because it's 9 episodes, so we're at the halfway mark essentially. So I'm curious to see where this goes, where this picks up with Agatha, Lilia, and Jen, but also with Teen. Is he who everyone thinks him to be, or is there going to be more to it? And if he is who everyone thinks him to be at Wiccan, then why and how? Like, what's going on there? And also, once again, the person who wasn't there with them at the time, Rio, where is she and what is she up to? She just stayed back while that was all going down? Or did she have some involvement in all of this? Is this connected to Mephisto? Name dropped in episode 3, but we don't know like how connected to this he may or may not be. So just, there's a lot here. I'm excited to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.